EVs just got exposed. The public is finally seeing through the hype and going against EVs. Dealer lots are filled with unsold EVs, and companies like Ford and General Motors are suffering a huge loss of more than $4 billion US. A user had to pay $60,000 just to fix a scratch on his EV, and that's not even the worst problem. In this video, I'm going to tell you about 5 shocking reasons why people are going against EVs, and I'll also tell you how to save $3,000 if you're going to buy one anytime soon. So listen very carefully. Now, $60,000 just to fix a scratch might sound too excessive, right? Here's what happened. Imagine this, a simple scratch, and suddenly you're staring down the barrel of a $60,000 bill for battery replacement. That's almost the price of the car itself. This nightmare became a reality for 2 Canadian owners of the Hyundai Ioniq 5. The first owner's predicament began with a minor scratch on the panel protecting the high-voltage battery. The damage was deemed irreparable by technicians, leading to a staggering $40,000 quote for a new battery. However, the insurance company's inquiry revealed a jaw-dropping escalation. The replacement cost had more than doubled. The car was ultimately written off by the insurance company, leaving the owner not only carless but also facing a potential hike in insurance premiums, going as high as $500 every month. The second owner had a similar horror story. They ran over a muffler, causing minor scrapes that led to an exorbitant replacement cost of over $60,000. Like the first, this car too was written off. Now, let's turn to another startling incident, this time in Ontario. A man discovers that replacing the battery of his 2017 EV would cost about $50,000. This was after the vehicle with over 172,000 kilometers on the odometer had just slipped out of its warranty coverage. When he bought the used vehicle, little did he know that he would face such a financial blow. But why is nobody telling you this about EVs? And is the EV market really going to crash? Let's start with the big news that's shaking up the auto industry. EVs are not doing as great as everyone thought they would. That's right, despite all the hype, it turns out there's a huge EV market crash happening right now. Major car manufacturers are in a bit of a panic, and they've sent out a shocking warning. Ditch the EVs and go back to combustion engines. Sounds crazy, right? But here's why they're saying this. Firstly, let's talk about the EV hype. It was everywhere, with promises of cleaner, more efficient cars that would save the planet. But here's the kicker. The EV revolution is hitting a major snag. Thousands of these shiny new EVs are just sitting unsold in dealerships. And wait till I tell you who did this. It's the political leaders who basically forced car makers to build more EVs for personal profits and to meet political agenda of a green future. This meant that even if these so-called EVs were unaffordable to the common public, brands were forced to ditch combustion engines and make EVs to meet strict government norms. But now, since people aren't buying, even the brands have been forced to go against the forced EV push. Let's paint a picture here. Imagine walking into a car lot and seeing rows upon rows of EVs from brands like GM, Ford, Hyundai, and Toyota. Sounds like a dream, right? But the reality is, these cars are just sitting there collecting dust. We're talking about over 92,000 unsold EVs, a number that's tripled since last year. This is a massive issue for car manufacturers. GM, for example, is in a tight spot. They've got this fancy new lineup of Ultium EVs, but sales are just not picking up. They plan to build a whopping 100,000 of these in the second half of the year, but with sales so low, it's a risky move. Ford's not doing any better. They've got tons of F-150 Lightnings and Mustang Mach-E SUVs just waiting for buyers. They even cut prices to attract more customers, but it's a tough sell. Then there's Volkswagen with their ID.4 electric SUVs. They've got way too many just waiting around, and they admit the US EV market is softening. Even Tesla, the big name in EVs, had to slash prices to keep up sales. But what made people finally realize EVs are no good, at least for now? Here are 5 shocking reasons why you should think twice before buying an EV right now. First up, the biggest issue, the range of these vehicles. EVs are great, but only under perfect conditions. If you live in a remote area, a cold climate, or need your car for heavy-duty tasks, an EV might not cut it. The battery range drops by nearly 30% in real-world conditions, especially in the cold. This is a huge problem for people living far from charging stations or need their vehicle for more than just city driving. Companies might promise you that 200 miles is enough, but do all of us have a home charging station? And is the electric charging grid even ready for all these new users? A big no. Next, let's talk about charging infrastructure. It's not as rosy as it seems. Sure, there are charging stations popping up everywhere, but what if you find them broken or there's a long line waiting? A recent survey found that 30% of EV owners couldn't charge their cars when they needed to. That's a big deal. Plus, charging at most cheaper outlets can take forever. Now, the third big issue, the price. EVs cost a lot more than, say, $20,000 to $25,000 more than regular cars or even hybrids. You might think you're saving the planet, but your wallet is taking a hit. The upfront cost is high, and you need to drive nearly 60,000 miles just to break even. Then we probably have the biggest issue that everyone seems to be overlooking: a huge and deadly fire risk. In Florida, the aftermath of Hurricane Idalia brought a shocking trend to light. EVs, known for their eco-friendliness, became a source of danger when they came in contact with salt water from the ocean. The resulting fires were not isolated incidents, but part of an alarming pattern. Electric vehicles powered by lithium-ion batteries have a different set of risks compared to traditional gasoline vehicles. When these batteries are compromised, especially by elements like salt water, they can lead to disastrous consequences. In Dunedin, Florida, a Tesla caught fire due to a lethal combination of salt water flooding and battery damage. In another case, a Tesla owner, after noticing his car was flooded, wisely called for a tow truck. However, en route, the vehicle began smoking and soon was engulfed in flames. Firefighters had to battle the blaze intensely, highlighting the challenges EV fires pose to emergency responders. These fires aren't typical. They're not caused by collisions or mechanical failures, which are somewhat predictable. Instead, EV fires can be spontaneous and unpredictable. Consider the case of Jennifer Rutolo in Nocatee, Florida. She experienced the horror of her loaner Mercedes-Benz EQE 350 Plus spontaneously catching fire while parked in her garage. The car wasn't even charging at the time. The damage was extensive, and the emotional toll was immeasurable. The U.S. Fire Administration recorded numerous EV fires following Hurricane Ian. One such fire was so intense it consumed 2 houses. These incidents underscore the latent risk in EVs, a risk that may remain hidden for days or even weeks after the initial trigger event. Manufacturers like Tesla have issued warnings to owners, advising them to move any flooded cars away from building. Fire departments are developing new protocols for handling EV fires. Lastly, the push for EVs feels a bit forced. Politicals are all about EVs, but are they really the best option for everyone? Some car makers are saying no. They think a mix of EVs and traditional cars is better. But with the government pushing EVs so hard, it's causing a lot of tension in the industry. Is banning gas cars so soon really the solution? The public doesn't think so. What do you think? Does buying an EV make sense right now? Let me know down in the comments below. And while you're at it, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe to my channel.